just had to actually make sure everything was muted and quiet in the house for that. So, okay. We are ready to get to rolling, Chris?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Today is March 15th, 2021, and I'd like to call to order the Economic Development Committee. It is 5:31, and let's start with a roll call. I'll just call out the names that I have up here. I have me present, Gene Crosby present, Mr. Lindmark present, Mrs. Fellers present, Mrs. Brown present, and we also have Mr. Neighbors present as well. I do believe that gives us a quorum. We'll move on to the approval of minutes for the January 6th, 2021 meeting of Economic Development Committee. And do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lindmark and second by Ms. Crosby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Moving on to public comment. I don't believe, Chris, do we have anybody that is set up for public comment today? So we will skip that portion. Next, we'll move on to item E, which is the presentation from the Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau quarterly update presented by RACVB President CEO John Groh.
Yes, and actually John had a conflict, so Lindsay and I don't know if Lindsay wants to give a wave there. We're going to be
everyone.
All right, we'll give the floor to you ladies to give us that presentation. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see if I have this correct just yet. I should have it down pat by now. All right. Here we go. Are you guys all seeing it now?
Yep.
All right, perfect. So thank you guys again for giving us the opportunity to just give you an update on what's been going on the past couple of months. We're actually going to be presenting specifically on Q1 and Q2 to give you some perspective. Our quarter starts in July. So you guys are going to be getting information from July through December, the end of December. We plan on coming back as soon as possible to share with you the Q3 report, because there's a lot of exciting things that have already been taking place and we're not even finished with the month of March. So Lindsay will have the opportunity to introduce herself a little bit later as we are going to talk a little bit about the potential transfer of funds, but I'm sure most of you guys have had the opportunity to meet. I'm Artisha Brown. I'm the Director of Advancement for the Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. So I assist with engagement, strategic planning, and then also public affairs. So just as a heads up for everybody, when we look at the RACVB, the Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, we are really focused on economic development as it relates to tourism and travel and destination development, public image, and really making sure that we have a dynamic place for individuals to not only live and work, but for our visitors to come to this area and really be able to enjoy our region. We really want to make sure that we are focusing in on how we can position our region economically as it relates to tourism. When you look at tourism, I would just encourage that you look not only at the events that we hold, but all the benefits that are received from our small businesses, our restaurants, the suppliers in the area, every time that we bring an event to our region. There's 3 core things that we like to focus in on at the CVB, and that's going to be sports, tourism, and meetings, which Lindsay oversees that area, destination defining events, and then also marketing our attractions, our venues, and really overall our entire county. And so this is the lovely team of the RACVB. Although Lindsay and I are here with you today, we have a team of individuals working diligently and hard behind the scenes to really make sure we're positioning our region. And so what I'm going to share with you briefly, probably over the next 5 minutes or so, is just some of the quarterly report highlights. I will give you a heads up, and please let me know if you have not been receiving, but we ensure that we do an email blast of our quarterly reports to all of our elected officials. So you should be receiving that. If for some reason you're not receiving, that's an oversight, and we can definitely make sure that you guys get that. And then also, I will just give you a heads up that we do have these all posted on our website as well. And I'll follow up with an email after this meeting to Chris, just to give you guys the hard copy, the PDF version of this report. And so we're going to talk about what's new RACVB news. So what's new at the RACVB? We'll get into marketing, which is really us positioning our region, not only locally, but also nationally. We'll talk about our sales efforts and results, which would include our meetings, tournaments, and other events, and then destination development. And so in RACVB news in Q1, we actually received our report from the state for the 2019 tourism economic impact numbers. This is very promising to us because 2019 marked the 10th straight year of economic growth. Now, keep in mind, this is before the pandemic, but it just showcases how important tourism is to the economic development of our county. Just to highlight a couple of things there, you can see that visitors in 2019 spent $409 million in Winnebago County. In addition to that, those visitors generated $7.2 million in local tax receipts. And that actually equated to over 3,000 jobs that were in our hospitality sector, our hospitality industry. So you can see how important it is, not only the investment, but the safe return of tourism, how important that is for our region to really support not only our workforce, but also to support our small businesses. And so something else that was in the news that we're pretty proud of is we received the Excelsior Award this past December. And this really is an award given by the RR Star that just really honors an organization or institution who's made a positive impact within this region. Some of the things that were really key to us winning from the feedback that I received was our support during the pandemic and really overall the economic impact of tourism. For some of you that are new to the committee or new to receiving our report, it was really important to us during the pandemic to shift our thinking. Of course, not sticking with tourism because that's very, very important and we need to make sure that we're prepared for tourism's return, but we really started to focus in on how can we better support our local businesses? How can we support our restaurants? What can we do to get creative to really make sure that our region is proud and give a sense of pride and just find out a way to uplift our region. And so that's really what we focused in on, and it resulted in receiving this award. So getting right into marketing, we break this down in 3 areas: media mentions, earned media, and promoting locally. So when we look at media mentions, this is any placements that we're doing in regional as well as national media outlets. Some highlights of areas that we focused in on during Q1 would be Pierce Lake, Rock Cut State Park, Embassy Suites, as well as the Anderson Japanese Gardens. Again, this is just a highlight, more were included, but just a highlight of some of those things. And when we look at the earned media of attracting media, we actually had an ad equivalency of around $202,000 with over 21 million total impressions and 2,800 media mentions. Something that we did to promote locally, of course, as we mentioned before, really making sure that we impact our community in the way that we can. We continued our Journey micro grants, which was an opportunity to support individuals within the arts world and the creative world. We also launched our Stay at Home Songs, the album. We asked some of our community members to write a song to really help uplift our community, and we were able to release all of those songs. We also kickstarted, or rather launched, a revised version of our weekly e-blast, which is now known as the Go Guide. In Q2, some highlights for you guys is the sports planning guide, our sports ETA. In terms of earned media, we had over 90 million total impressions, which is the ad equivalency of $837,000 for our region. And then also really key and really cool here with promoting locally was our To Go Tuesdays, where we highlighted one city per week over the entire county and some of the fun, awesome restaurants that we have to help generate some business for them. And that there's an example there of one of the pizza locations in Roscoe that we were able to highlight. And we also introduced a leisure video that really focused in on that outdoor experience, again, being uplifting for our community, and then also incorporated audio for our disability community to ensure that everyone has access to our website. Moving into sales efforts and results, sports and sales highlights. Some key things that I want to highlight here is Sports Events and Tourism Association, or Sports ETA. We had a sports biz exchange, which if you have any questions on that, Lindsay can give some more details there. We had partnership calls to really set the stage for upcoming bookings. And then we also rebooked Tough Mudder, which is going to be coming in August of 2021. So hopefully the snow will be off the ground by then, but we're planning on having Tough Mudder as well. And then, of course, the Embassy Suites Conference Center opened in July of 2020. And then Q2 highlights, just very, very briefly, we were able to book 22 sports events, which will equate to $15.3 million in economic impact. And again, those 22 sports events will is not something that necessarily will happen within 2021 or within the next month or so, but these are events that were booked and secured by Lindsay and the sales team. And then in our meetings market, we really wanted to focus in on, again, making sure we're competitive for the future. So we were able to produce Home with the Fam, which is a familiarization tour, hopefully I can say that right, of the Embassy Suites and Conference Center to just kind of help put us on the map there. And so in destination development, really excited to share some information here. For Dasher Dash, we had an at-home 5K run walk to make sure it was safe for everyone. And our goal was to reach 250 racers, and we exceeded that goal. So we're pretty proud of the community coming out and being a part of Dasher Dash as they can in a safe way. I also want to thank you guys for your support of Stroll on State and how much that meant for us to continue to have an uplifting event for our community where we were able to be apart but still come together. And so we had 2,400 volunteer hours. We had the 1 hour long production on WREX, which reached 20,000 households. We did virtual Santa visits. We did some drive arounds with Santa in a partnership with our fire department, and reached each and every quadrant of Rockford. Our fireworks were expanded, and we got a lot of earned paid media. And again, I did want to just say thank you again for the support that we received for Stroll on State. And you guys can see there on the screen just some examples of ways that we thanked you guys. As you were walking through downtown Rockford, we had the planters that were decorated for the holidays with signage for Winnebago County, constant reminders to make sure that everyone was wearing a mask and practicing social distancing, as you guys were our Clean Hands Open Door sponsor. And so you're probably asking what's next. We have a ton going on at the CVB as it relates to, again, making sure we're remaining competitive and trying to uplift our community. But some highlights that I'll share is our welcoming diversity. We just launched a microsite that communicates our commitment statements and what the CVB can do to make sure that we are better representing and also more inclusive in welcoming our diverse populations. We also have a staycation break that was just launched. I kid you guys not, probably a couple hours ago, so stay tuned for that. And then we're all, as I mentioned before, making sure that we're leading the safe return of tourism, which includes WNIT, that we'll be talking about a little bit later for you guys. So with that, I'll just kind of go back here and I'll open it up for any questions or concerns on that.
Is there any questions from any of the board members? Ms. Fowlers?
Yeah, thank you for that presentation, Martisha. I really appreciate the work that you do. I had a question about how you measure and gauge economic impact when you're looking at the impact of tourism and the impact of events. I'm curious to know if it's just a hard dollar impact that you're looking at. Are you also taking into account auxiliary impacts, impacts on traditionally underrepresented communities, whether or not the jobs that it's generating are being are equitable? How is this affecting the culture and the representation of our community overall and contributing to the diversity that you spoke to at the end of your presentation?
Absolutely. I may ask for the first portion of that question, Lindsay, if you want to speak to the economic impact numbers and how we get to those numbers, and then I'll share a little bit about what we're doing in terms of equity related to job market and workforce.
Yes, I'm happy to do that, Martisha. So again, my name's Lindsay Arellano. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Service at the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So I've been working with meetings and sports events the entire 19 years I've been with the CVB. So we have a database called SimpleView, and that's where we enter all of our clients' traces, and as they actualize into booked events, whether it be a meeting or a sports event or even a festival, we enter them into SimpleView. It's a company out of Arizona, and they do this for the majority of CVBs throughout the nation. We have something within SimpleView called the Economic Impact Calculator that we enter all the data. How many people are coming to an event? How many overnights? How many day visitors? What the event is it sports? Is it meetings? What percentages, or is it national or regional? There's so many variables that we select, and this calculator spits out a calculation for us. If you would be interested, I can work with Martisha and Chris, and I can show you what one of those reports looks like. It's very detailed, and it's got so much involved. But if you'd like to see a copy, I'd be happy to print one off, Tough Mudder or whatever event you'd like, and you can see it more in detail. But we just import data into our system. Again, it's a nationwide CVB tool, Convention and Visitors Bureau tool, and that spits out economic impact of direct spending that visitors bring to our region. And that does include lodging, food and beverage, assuming they're going to get gas, go shopping, all of that.
Thanks, Lindsay. The second part of your question, just to make sure that I heard it correctly, Angela, is we're looking at, as we look at jobs and the workforce development, what are we doing to ensure that it's equitable, or if there's any measurements that we're taking? Is that correct?
Yes, but not just with the jobs and the impact, but also with attendance and with the events. And I sometimes hear feedback, hey, that was a great event, and then another section of the community would say, and I'm not talking about your events specifically, but some of the feedback would be like, yeah, but that's not for us. And so I'm wondering if we are being mindful, and I want you to speak to the mindfulness that you bring to creating events and tourism for all of our communities.
Absolutely. And so speaking towards the events is always something that's been ingrained in the heart of the RACVB, but I think that we've become even more intentional with the announcement of our commitment statements on what we can do to not only ensure it's open for all, but that it's welcome for all. And those are two completely different things. And so that is inclusion in our marketing materials, making sure that we're utilizing media outlets that cater to and are owned by minority individuals, making sure that we are utilizing focus groups and talking to individuals in our community on what we can do to make sure that it's much more equitable in the experiences that you have within our events. A specific example of that, even though we weren't able to do it in person this year, we were working through ensuring that our musical selection for Stroll on State would be an example of and a reflection of our community. And so there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes. I would encourage, if you guys have the chance, and I'd be more than happy to come back and talk about it. We do have at our Go Rockford, and I believe it's /welcoming diversity. We just launched that microsite. There's a video there that explains all of our commitment statements. They're also all listed there. And that's going to be our central hub to communicate and act as an accountability piece as we surround welcoming diversity. And that also includes what we can do as it relates to workforce development surrounding this area.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Other questions from board members? All right, with that, I believe you still had a second part to that as well, Ms. Brown?
Mr. Chairman, I might just add in, I see that board member Dorothy Red has joined us.
Okay, let the record show that Ms. Red has joined the meeting as well.
Thank you. I had trouble getting on. I had to call IT.
Well, we're glad you can make it on there, Ms. Red.
All right, thanks.
Any other question, or I'm sorry, as I was saying, Ms. Brown, I believe you said that there was another portion that you were going to give on this.
Yes, I think that's the next item on the agenda. I don't know if it needs to be
Okay. No, I'm
discussed before I move in.
the presentation.
Okay, nope, that's all.
Okay. All right, with that, I will Thank you very much ladies, thank you very much for that presentation and insight from the RACVB. I did have a question, but I think it got answered by Miss Lindsay there. I'm going to go ahead and move on to item F, which is the resolution amending previously approved grant of $20,000 from host fees to the Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau to support the tourism through special events. And I believe this is in particular to a specific event. With that, actually, I do need a motion to go into discussion.
So move.
Moved by Ms. Crosby. All right.
Second by Tim Neighbors.
And second by Mr. Neighbors. Ms. Brown, would you like to give a brief description on this event as well that you guys are asking for the grant?
I do. And I promise this very, very brief presentation. Just, I think visually it'll help to kind of explain things. So we'll go back to the presentation here. All right. You guys can all see that there?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right. So perfect. So we would just like to just a couple minutes to talk about hopefully the support of transferring money that has already been allocated and paid to the RACVB from a couple of events that we were hoping would happen to an event that we know is going to happen. And so we're just going to chat about that very, very briefly here. You have the chance. I kind of already gave an intro of myself, and Lindsay, I don't know if there's anything else you want to share about your role before I kick in gear here.
No, I just VP of Sales and Service. I've been at the Bureau for 19 years and I love what I do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So we already talked about the true purpose behind the RACVB, so I won't go into great detail there. I will just remind you that we are really, really focused in on economic development and what it means for our region. And so we asked, I believe it was towards the end of the year of 2020, we asked for support for the future tourism economic impact, and really to help that the impact of tourism and the funds that would be for that and the investment of that for the 2021 USA Wrestling and the 2021 Illinois State Middle School Basketball Championships. And we did, as I mentioned before, we received the $20,000 and we were all geared up and ready to go. And COVID took a little bit more of a toll than we expected it to. We thought we'd be able to bounce back a little bit quicker with tournaments coming back in play. And so with that being said, it is always very, very important to us that we are continuing to remain competitive as it relates to sports tourism. That is the only way that we're going to be able to accomplish growth. And that's the only way that we're going to be able to rebound from the pandemic as it relates to tourism. And so for us to remain competitive, Lindsay and the sales team were keeping their ears to the streets and working their relationships. And we became upon an opportunity with WNIT. And so I'm going to show you guys a very, very short video here just to kind of explain what this really means for our community, because it's pretty huge.
Here is comes to the right wing. It's gone. This building is jam-packed. It's in the paint. Rejected out of bounds. Three ball.
Oh, this is an incredible game atmosphere.
A send-off crowd is expected. Perfect. Time to tip it up from the WNIT.
All right. So as I mentioned, this is pretty huge for our region. I'm going to hand it off now to Lindsay to talk a little bit about the economic impact, partnerships, and some of the other cool things that are surrounding this event.
Thank you, Martisha. I am so excited about this one. We are a sports community. I'm a sports girl, and I'm so excited about this and happy to share these details with you. So what an honor and what an opportunity it is for us here to be able to host such a prestigious event right alongside of these other tier 1 cities like Memphis and Fort Worth and Charlotte and Rockford. It's a great, great moment, an opportunity again to help put us on the map even further with our sports tourism. So this is the Women's National Invitational Tournament, Division 1 basketball. We will welcome 8 teams. Those 8 teams are actually being announced tonight. So we don't know the teams right now, but after 10 p.m. our time, we will know which 8 teams will visit Rockford for the tournament. We expect those 8 teams to bring in at least 500 out-of-town visitors. They are taking up 800 hotel rooms, and that is just for the teams. If they bring spectators or parents, that number is going to rise. So those numbers that we put into our economic calculator spits out an estimated economic impact of $403,000 to the community. We have many partners that have helped us along the way land this big event. Of course, the event couldn't happen without the Rockford Park District. It will be held at the UW Health Sports Factory. So they've been a great partner along the way. Couldn't do it without them. We are working with BMO Harris Bank Center because we are actually bringing their basketball court over. We're transporting it tomorrow across the bridge to the factory because that's the size court we need. The courts inside the factory are not the right size. So we will lay this court down on the factory, and that will be their game court. They have 2 host hotels for the teams. 4 teams will be staying downtown at the Embassy Suites, and the other 4 teams will stay at the Radisson. Again, we've went out to the hotels and we've offered spectator rates. So we hope that family and friends do come and travel to see their athletes play. And we hope that those room nights will increase. We have been working side by side with the Winnebago County Health Department, communicating with them daily. Todd Marshall, they're a great support. They've guided us. They've told us what we need to do to have a safe tournament. We're going off of their lead. They have approved this and given us the thumbs up, and still continuing to work with them every day until the tournament's over. We're working with UIC College of Medicine for testing. All Rockford Park District staff and the CVB staff will be tested starting tomorrow, and every other day we'll have a rapid COVID test. So will the players. All players and coaches will be tested every other day and notified that we are negative by our lanyards. So College of Medicine is a great partner. Where social distancing, masks are required, seats are in pods of 3 that are 6 feet apart. So we are taking all the safety measures necessary. And just want to point out that these are some big partners, but there's a lot of other businesses, local businesses, small businesses that are getting business out of this tournament. Prairie Street Brew House is going to be open upstairs, Owly Oop. They're going to provide lunches and dinners to all of the staff. We're having Lux Productions come in and do extra lighting and sound so that we can give these athletes a real experience and environment. Future Memory is a local small company here that will be live streaming for us. We've hired local photographers and videographers. We're working with Pro Graphics to put up signage around the city. We've ordered t-shirts and apparel from a local vendor, and we're hoping that the teams visit or order takeout from some of our restaurants. So I'm hoping that these numbers of visitors, hotel rooms, and economic impact numbers are low, and that post-event we could have higher than that. But what an awesome opportunity for a Division I college girls basketball here in Rockford. And I'm also super excited because it feels like our safe return to tourism is happening. I work very closely with the Rockford Park District and their facilities, and Loves Park Sports Core 2 and Sports Core 1. Their calendars are full. Almost every weekend they've got something going on. And, my son plays soccer at Sports Core 2 now, and it's busy up there. So it feels really good to know that the return of tourism and out-of-town people are coming in and spending money in our community. The tournament is actually run by a company out of Fort Collins, Colorado called Triple Crown. They run amateur and professional sports, baseball, fast pitch, softball, volleyball. They run a lot of different sports. So I think this is a really good opportunity for us to show Triple Crown what we have and just build that relationship with them. And our goal would be to bring more tournaments from Triple Crown. Again, national recognition puts Rockford, the Winnebago County, the region on the map. A Division I tournament is, I think, something to brag about. And, you know, just sports tourism brings in a lot of money, a lot of people to Rockford. We're thankful for the facilities we have in this region and our partners that help us. We couldn't do it without them. And we appreciate all of the sponsorship we get to be able to host events like this. And again, just so exciting for me, but safe return to tourism and lots of big things to come.
And so with that, our ask is really not for new funds, but just the opportunity to transfer the funds that were committed for the previous 2 events that were canceled or postponed, that is out of our control due to the pandemic, and really putting those funds towards WNIT. Again, that economic impact is around $403,000. And I will also just want to emphasize, as Lindsay mentioned, this tournament is taking place in just a couple days here. The funding from the county would allow us to be able to free up future funding for other commitments and other events that we have that could come to our region that is rather scheduled for our region. So we're really hoping that these funds would allow us to have that cash flow to continue to have that return to tourism in a safe manner. So with that, any questions or comments, or maybe I'll pass it back to you, Jazz or Chris.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brown and Ms. Lindsay there. We appreciate that. I will open up for discussion through the board members. Any questions or comments?
I have a question. This is Dorothy Red. I have a question.
Ms. Red, I had Mr. Lindmark up with a hand, and then I'll go straight to you right after, okay?
Thank you.
Yep, Mr. Lindmark.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I just want to say congratulations. This is a huge deal. Very impressive. I know it's a lot of work. Good luck, however we can help. Thank you so much. It's great.
Oh,
yep.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And before we move on to Ms. Red, I just want to note that Mr. Westcott has joined us for the meeting as well. Ms. Red?
Thank you, Chairman. My question to Lindsay, how many of our Airbnbs are being used? Do you know?
That is a good question. I believe that and Martisha, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we can track that through the city. I don't know in advance, for example, for this tournament, I don't know, but we do get reports at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and we would be able to report any specific day or weekend. So we could look back and see what the usage of the Airbnbs we could look at their taxes and figure it that way.
Okay.
Martisha, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I would agree with that. We can definitely take a look back and get that information to you, Dorothy.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dornbush has a comment. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to restate too what Martisha was saying, that this is just a kind of a procedural thing. The funds have already been pre-approved for a couple other tournaments. So because the resolution originally stated the other 2 tournaments, we had to just come back through and amend it before they could allow to use those funds for this tournament that came. So I just wanted to restate that that's a clarification. This is not additional funds. It's what's already been approved and put in the budget for it. And so it's just a transfer from basically line items. Instead for these tournaments, it'll be for this tournament. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dornbush. With that, Ms. Fellers, you have a question?
I also wanted to say congratulations. This is a big win, and I'm especially excited for girls, for little girls, to see this one. Will there be any partnership with the local community specifically for younger athletes, or for girls to have access to this event?
Yeah, I can start, Martisha, and you can add. I know that, so each team gets 50 tickets to give to their family members. We have a pot of tickets for each game, but between 20 and 30 tickets for each game. And I know that certain community groups have been invited to use those tickets, specifically girls sports. And Martisha, you can maybe name those groups for me.
Absolutely, exactly. And I don't have, okay.
And also there are volunteer roles or volunteer roles during the tournament, such as courtside monitors or the people that go out there and scrub the floor. And I know that Danielle Potter at the Sports Factory has her daughter and some of her basketball team volunteering. So, and they actually are so excited to be able to do that. So we are utilizing those tickets to try to get some youth and specifically girls out there and get community involved as well. And might I say, I don't know if any of you might be interested, let Martisha and I know. We might be able to get you guys some tickets too.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing, Lindsay. We've, because the tickets are limited, we can't open it up to the general public, but we've been working with some key stakeholders, some community groups to make sure that we provide access, especially for our lovely young ladies. I'm a past hooper myself, so I know how important it is to see where you could go in the sport. So yeah, absolutely. We have that on our plate. We're doing that. And if you guys know of a group and or you're interested in attending the event, just shoot me an email. And we'll see what we can do to get those tickets, or at least a pot or something for you guys.
All right. Other board members with questions or comments? I actually have a couple myself though. Just in regards to the 500 visitors, what was that like number kind of based on? How did we come to that number?
So I believe, if I can remember correctly off the top of my head, they told us that each team would be traveling with between 20 to 30 people. And that 30 person team includes trainers, coaches, their SID, everybody on the team. So that 30 times 8, I believe, that's 240. And then we did visit, and then we included family, because Triple Crown did tell us we should expect family. And like I said, 50 spectator passes per team. So there's going to be 100 spectators at each team. So we know that family is going to travel with.
Okay, and then that was kind of actually going to answers my follow-up, but I guess in that case, so Triple Crown did actually give you a heads up as far as how much they usually see as typically as far as spectators for this event?
Yes, and they're working closely with college coaches now. I think like I said, the teams will be identified tonight, but I think they already know or have a good idea of who's coming. They work closely with those colleges and have a history of working with these colleges. They've run this tournament for many, many years. And although it's a different looking year because of COVID, from talking to the colleges, they know that family will travel.
Okay. And the only other thing I had, well, the date was coming up. I saw the date up, but it was covered by the screen of the people that were here. So what date was that again?
The tournament, they actually travel to town the 17th, which is Wednesday. They find out tonight. They make their travel arrangements tomorrow. They will arrive here on Wednesday, the 17th. They practice on Thursday, the 18th, and games start on Friday, the 19th. Gameplay will happen Friday, Saturday, and Monday are the championships, and Monday is the last day.
Okay. And my last question on that was, it seems like you guys actually, you guys kept it kind of hush, at least there for a little bit, but how long have we known that we were going to possibly get these guys up here?
It was actually a very short turnaround. Triple Crown reached out to me in early February. So
And even
not that long.
Yeah, usually
outside-
see that I get the calls from a lot of businesses and stuff like that. And typically when RACVB gets an event like that, a lot of times you guys do some fundraising in regards to having brochures with local businesses named in there. So I noticed that there wasn't anything coming up, which that's why I was kind of shocked to hear about this tournament coming around. So yes, again, congratulations on it.
Thank you. Yep.
Ms. Brown, you wanted to actually say something as well?
Yeah, I was just going to add, even though it was a quick notice for this tournament, Lindsay and the sales team, I have to applaud them. They've been building this relationship for how long now, Lindsay, to get a tournament here?
I mean, we've been in contact with Triple Crown for 15 years. I've actually, like I said, I've been with the CVB for 19 years now. And we have records showing communication with them back at least 15 years. So
So you can see when we
Sometimes it
talk
takes a
about-
long time.
Yeah, when we talk about the economic development and what the team is doing, it's definitely a long game, but it's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting.
All right. With that, I would have just my final comment on it would be actually just for future events, which thank you for filling out the form that I hope that makes it a little bit easier. It gives us a lot of the information, so that way it answers a lot of the questions right out the gate for the next time. And thank you for touching on the basis of what the $20,000 would actually do for you guys and what it'll be used for, even though it might not attack this tournament right away. I know that you guys have a lot of last minute expenses and expenditures to try to put this together. For the future though, just like you guys did, where you break it down for us what it's being used for, that really is helpful for us as a board. With that, I would actually be looking for a vote. All those in favor of the resolution amending previously approved grant of $20,000 to the RACVB, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hey guys, I think we ought to call the roll.
All right. And is there anyone opposed to it?
Tim just says we have to call the roll.
Oh, okay. We'll call the roll. That's fair enough. All right. In that case, I'll call the roll. Ms. Red,
Yes.
Ms. Crosby,
Yes.
Ms. Fellers,
Yes.
Mr. Lindmark,
Yes.
Mr. Neighbors,
Yes.
Mr. Westcott. I see that Mr. Westcott's having an issue with the audio.
Yes.
Let's see here. I'll skip right on over that. Hopefully he can get it figured out here in a minute. And it'll be a yes for me as well. That passes 5 votes yes, and I'm going to put it as 1. I won't put it absent. I don't know how you want to mark that, Mr. Dornbush.
We'll mark it as six yes, and then 1 no vote.
Okay.
Or not no, but
Correct.
wasn't here for.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Brown and Ms. Lindsay, for bringing this to us, and we will be seeing you again eventually. So.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll move on to item G, which is a resolution electing to opt into the Illinois Electronics Recycling Program for program year 2022. Mr. Dornbush, would you like to go ahead and give us that description of the program? This is a program that we've voted on before, so.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Should we make a motion second to get it on the floor?
Can I get a motion?
Second by Dorsey, Red.
Miss Red, and I got a second by Mr. Lindmark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is something that the county's done for, this will be the 4th year that we're looking to opt into. It's a electronic recycling program. The state has changed the law, so the counties essentially oversee this. The city of Rockford used to do this, and they used to approve, from my understanding, we're talking with the city of Rockford, about $200,000 to get rid of TVs, DVD players, VCRs, and other computers. A lot of that stuff gets thrown in the ditches and so forth, and then the Public Works Department has to pick it up, and then they have to expend quite a bit of money to do it. We partner with Keep Northern Illinois Beautiful, and part of our host fees, we give $40,000 to Keep Northern Illinois Beautiful to help run this operation. They handle all of it. They do all the scheduling. It's been a very positive relationship with them. They have 2 sites right now. One is on the South Alpine Road in an industrial park in Rockford. The other one is in McChesney Park. And then they have 3 for this coming year. They have 3 sites they're looking to do as events based on the county size. The state is saying if we opt in, we have to have 3 size based on population. We have to have like at least 3 sites, but they have 2 sites and then 3 events. So those sites are open for drop off on a regular basis. The events are essentially 1 or 2 day events that they have planned. One is out in the village of Pecatonica they're planning. One's in South Beloit, and one is on West State Street at Farm and Fleet that they're looking at hosting. This is for 2022. So they want this form in and they do this whole process about 9 months before it actually comes in. At any time, we can opt out of the program, but it costs no money to the county. The perk of participating in the program is that we don't have to expend all the costs that like the highway department or some of the other departments may pick up to get rid of this waste. Keep Northern Illinois Beautiful charges about $20 per TV or monitor or so forth. They have a very specific way in how they have to package it, and then they recycle it in 18,000 pound pallets in a trailer full. And they're responsible for making sure it's in the proper load capacity. They make sure it's wrapped. There's a specific way in wrapping it and so forth. Overall, it's just a good program to get rid of things. Rockford, I think, used to have 3 locations. One was on South Main at the mobile gas station. And sometimes it would just overflow and it kind of became a headache from my understanding. But this has been running well and they've been doing a good job partnering with us. So there's no financial obligation with this. We've always given to Keep Northern Illinois, well, not always, but we have for many years given to Keep Northern Illinois Beautiful. And this is just an opt-in program to do, and it helps keep things out of the dump. And part of the program too is that by opting in, they get some coverage by the manufacturers of these and retail sales of it as well to help cover the cost. But the county has a little bit, or Keep Northern Illinois Beautiful makes up the essentially the difference in some of that $40,000 that we give them, help offset the last little bit that's not fully covered by them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dornbush. I'd like to just add on with having kept at least once a month or once every other month in regard to the conversation with KNIB and also their sponsors is one thing that we've definitely discussed about, even what I brought up when I went to tour their facilities, was the fact that, they're going to start working a bit more with, they already work with schools, with students to teach them about recycling. They do have programs where they'll tour the facilities and then they'll do little projects with the students and then kind of explain to them what the benefits of recycling is and how it helps the world. One thing that I did actually discuss with them though is because it is difficult for them sometimes to have volunteers. Most of their efforts are volunteer based. They did have one employee that stays on year round, and I believe they had a second temporary employee that works for part of the year. With them opening up a second location, it's looking like they're going to probably end up expanding their workforce. However, still majority of it for those events where they collect a lot of the TVs, it's quite a lot of cars that show up for that event. Quite a lot of people that are getting rid of TVs, old DVD players and stuff like that are approved by them. They are actually going to be looking at doing some work with the schools as far as like the older students in high schools and maybe even the local colleges, and trying to work with volunteers on that. That is something I was requesting that they work on as well. And in regards to Miss Red actually brought up a great point the last time they were in front of us. We brought up the fact that their next facility should be going to the west side as well. So they are working in process on that, working on trying to see if they can figure out how to manage that and have a third facility that's going to be on the west side of our county as well. So with that, I'll open it up to discussion from the board members. Seeing no discussion, I'm going to call the roll. Ms. Red.
Yes.
Ms. Crosby.
Yes.
Ms. Fowlers.
Yes.
Mr. Lindmark.
Yes.
Mr. Neighbors.
Yes.
And Mr. Westcott. Seeing still a little bit of issue with the audio there. I think we'll check back if he can get that figured out on that end. And with that passes. I believe that was 6 yes and 1 that wasn't a vote. Okay, there we go. With that, we move on to other matters, letter H, item H. Is there any members that have any other matters they'd like to discuss? Okay, I'd like to put in a few words in regards to some of the discussions that's been going on recently. I am going to be reaching out with Jaime. We've talked about sitting down and kind of discussing possible options in regards to host fees and investment opportunities. One reason why we bring up that discussion is to try to see how we can expand what we do as far as host fees or how much we are able to do in our community. The other reason is because we have been watching our pocketbooks very much. I didn't send out the memo quite yet. It's still being pieced together. We did work on it, me and Mr. Dornbush. However, there is an additional portion of it that I'd like to mention, which is with a lot of the county board members, they forget one thing, where when we give monies out to certain businesses for expanding or moving into the area, a lot of times people forget the economic impact that it gives to us in regards to what it generates for us. When they develop a piece of land, or let's say there's land that is vacant, even abandoned properties, their taxes are a lot less because they're not being inhabited. Just as an example, and I'll use one example that'll be in that memo. Even when we discuss, for example, what happened with the Costco development, pre-development, we were looking at generating as far as the tax revenue was very low. It was about 100 and Winnebago County portion of it, with it being farmland at the time, agricultural land at the time, it was only $167.24. Post development, with the developments that they already have on some of the parcels, and then some of the parcels are still being planned for development as well. Currently, so far, they're actually bringing us in $13,000 in property taxes. So when we talk about ROIs, if we can actually break it down where we can actually separate out a percentage of whatever we use on host fees as a type of investment. So our dividend is actually coming there, but it doesn't come to the host fees. So when we talk about investing host fees, that's what it kind of looks like. That's the kind of return we can expect in our county. It comes out to about 7,000% return of investment compared to what we were collecting from those properties and parcels prior to us donating that money for them to be able to do those projects. So I'm going to bring up more of that discussion coming over the year, because we are seeing an influx of projects that are going to be coming up. As I said, we do have another project in the far western portion of our county that's going to be generating. We're going to see a 9,000% return of investment. It is going to be a very large project and a very large increase in sales tax revenue that's going to come from that area. So we'll be discussing that more along the lines when it becomes more of a reality, when they turn in all their information to us. Currently, right now, they're working with Mr. Dornbush on getting all that figured out. So, and with that, is there any other questions or comments?
Your 167, is that per PIN number for taxes?
That was between two PIN numbers from what I see here.
Okay, thanks.
Just subdivided the land into more PIN numbers after that, more parcels after that.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Colors.
You said that they were bringing in $13,000 per year. How much did we spend on that development out of the host fees?
That's just in property taxes. That's not sales taxes. So for us to get the sales tax numbers, it would be a little bit more difficult, because all the sales tax that we collect in the county or in the city, and what the city collects, everything they collect goes basically into a pool of money that they represent by a single number to the state. Then that state pays us out of those sales tax dollars. So it's not broken down per individual business or what that business actually brings in. We would actually need to ask them to look at their books, which is a process in itself. We've never done it. I don't think that any county or city has actually had to ask the businesses to look at their books unless they were in some way, shape, or form, to prove that they had a hurt. For example, like with the COVID-19 stuff, when they had a grant program through the city, to prove that they actually were affected by it or that they were shut down. So that way they were showing that they weren't violating the rules. That was the only time they were asked to prove what their revenues would have been. And it was only based on 2 years. For this, it would be a little bit more difficult. We'd have to work with Costco and legal matters and have the state's attorney's office involved and everything. So, but in regards to sales tax revenue, what we get in the area, I guess you could break it down by per project, how many we've had, and it would actually represent, I guess, in that kind of way. Or we can actually look at the sales tax increase depending between year to year from when we had projects and the prior year that we didn't have that project that opened up in the year. But that's going to be a pool of projects that did exist and didn't exist for that year. So
I was going to say, to speak to that as well, I think it's important that when we're looking at the economic impact of potential developments, that I personally think it would be a good idea for us to take on an anti-poaching policy as well. If we're just moving a business from one side of the county to another side of the county, I don't see that as being an effective use of economic development money, especially if we're seeing there would have to be a very compelling reason. We've been seeing, especially businesses that have been moving out of the west side and moving to the east side. I don't want to compensate people for leaving areas that are traditionally underrepresented. And so I just wanted to bring that out there. And that's something that I think that we should take into consideration when we're looking at the economic impact of decisions that we make. I also wanted to speak to new business as well. So just to let you know that.
Okay. Any other comments on what I've said? No? Okay, so go ahead, Ms. Fellers.
We have a lot of money that is going to be coming in from federal and state resources for COVID mitigation. And this committee specifically, I think that we need to get together and work on how we're going to best use that for the highest amount of economic development. Of course, rule 1 of economic development is don't backslide. And we've seen a lot of backsliding that's been going on. And we really need to help the companies that we have here now, the small businesses that we have here now, especially our restaurants and our service industries. The second portion being that, rule 2 is remove barriers between people and the jobs that they have now. When we're looking at economic development, I think we need to be thinking in broad terms of what does our workforce need to be healthy and to get to work. And we need to be looking at economic development as roads and infrastructure, as childcare, as healthcare, et cetera. I won't get on a soapbox about that tonight, but I would challenge everyone on this committee to broaden their definitions of what economic development is and what the impacts are long term, that we aren't just counting the impact that's right here in front of us right now, but what the reciprocal impact and what the impact is long term.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fellers. Anybody else with any discussion? All right, with that, I'm looking for a motion of adjournment.
So move.
Moved by Ms. Crosby, second by Mr. Lindmark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Okay.